Now lease Milan with 0 first month's payment, 0 down, and 0 cash due at $257 a month. Don't miss the Lincoln Mercury Celebration clearance.
People always ask insurance guys, when can I get my car back? Well, a lot faster with this Sprint Mobile broadband card. I can instantly download customer data, file the claim, and handle more customers per day.
Do more with Sprint Mobile broadband.
So when can I get my car back?
Well,
Sprint Business makes just about any place a workplace. Get a card for $49.99 with an unlimited data access plan after mail-in rebate. Visit sprint.com/business.
My kids call me the finisher. Finish up in there.
Okay.
Finish your homework?
Yes.
Finish your vegetables. Something I thought I was finished with? Managing my acid reflux disease. I thought it was just bad heartburn, but my doctor said over time, stomach acid was damaging the lining of my...
Thanks, Ali. To our viewers, you're in the Situation Room, where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Standing by, CNN reporters across the United States and around the world to bring you today's top stories. Happening now, a relentless exchange of bloody attacks and bitter words in the Middle East. It's 11 p.m. in Israel, where we're getting new reports of rocket fire on northern Israeli cities, even as Israel continues pounding targets in Lebanon. We'll have live reports from the region on these new strikes from both sides of the Israeli-Lebanese border. Also now underway, an exodus from Beirut. The United States and other nations scrambling to get their citizens out of the line of fire. This hour, an update on the evacuation plans and the thousands of Americans at risk right now in Lebanon. And President Bush preparing to send his top diplomat to the crisis zone. It's 4 p.m. in Washington. Mr. Bush has just returned home from the G8 summit after venting his frustration with the Middle East crisis in some pretty graphic terms. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. On this sixth day of the Middle East crisis, Hezbollah says it fired dozens more rockets on the Israeli port city of Haifa today, including a new barrage just a short time ago. A 3-story building under attack collapsed. Prime Minister Ehud Olmert is vowing his nation will not flinch in defending itself.
My fellow Israelis, there are moments in the life of a people when it has to look at the present reality and say, this far and no further. And I say to everybody, this far and no further. Israel will not be the plaything, not of terrorist organizations, not of a terrorist authority, and not of any sovereign state.
Israel says it won't stop its assault on Hezbollah's home base in Lebanon, among other things, until 2 Israeli soldiers are freed. Israeli tanks briefly crossed into Lebanese territory earlier today, while its warplanes and artillery pounded targets in and around Beirut. Lebanon now says at least 170 people have been killed in attacks there. Israel reports 24 of its people have been killed in the conflict so far. Lebanon's prime minister is accusing Israel of cutting his nation, quote, into pieces. And a Lebanese representative is pressing that point at the United Nations today.
I don't see how, by destroying the whole country, you can reign over one part of it. I mean, this is the wrong way to go about it.
We'll be speaking live with the Lebanese envoy, Mahmoud. That's coming up in the next hour right here in the Situation Room. Right now, there's a new international push to remove foreigners from harm's way in Lebanon, including the evacuation of some 40 British citizens. The U.S. military says it's positioning its forces on land, sea, and air to try to get thousands of Americans out of the Beirut area. President Bush will continue monitoring the crisis now that he's back at home here in Washington. Earlier in Russia at the G8 summit, he was caught in front of an open microphone venting his frustration over the Middle East conflict. He also revealed that he's planning to send the Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice to the region. No date for Dr. Rice's trip has yet been set. We have reporters covering all aspects of this story. Our White House correspondent, Suzanne Malveaux, is standing by with a full report. CNN's John Voss is in northern Israel. Let's go first to Beirut, though. Our senior international correspondent, Nick Robertson, has the latest from the Lebanese capital. Nick?
Wolf, the shelling has been continuing through the day. Shells raining in on Beirut early in the day, hitting some trucks down in the harbour area, the port cities of Sidon and Tyre in the south, targets in the east, targets hit in the Bekaa Valley, and targets in the south of Lebanon from where Hezbollah are firing their missiles into Israel. We've also seen some diplomacy here today in Beirut. The UN representatives here came in, met with the Prime Minister. The efforts there to try and get the ceasefire going, but the conclusion of that meeting that this was just a preliminary talks, many steps to go. The French Prime Minister Dominique de Villepin also in the country meeting with the Prime Minister today. He said it's in a difficult situation. There is no magic solution. His country, France, brought a ship into Beirut today, into the harbour, very close to where those missiles struck earlier in the day, and began taking French nationals out of the country. 1,200 on this first ship, another 5,000 almost waiting to leave. There were some Americans on board that ship, told me that they were upset the American embassy hasn't done more to get them out of the country. The US embassy here says it's getting closer to being able to evacuate people. We've seen the British bring in helicopters here today as well to evacuate about 40 British nationals, the most needy, getting out of those helicopters. British warships on the way to help evacuate more British people. Wolf?
Nick, earlier there was Lebanese television and other sources in Lebanon. Hezbollah were insisting they shot down an Israeli warplane, an F-16, flying over Beirut. The Israelis flatly denied it. What's the latest on that incident?
Wolf, I think after careful analysis and getting rid of some of the hyperbole, what appears to have come down is some sort of surveillance pod, not even a drone, possibly something that came off discarded from an aircraft as it flew over, possibly some surveillance blimp that was being used, but certainly not a fighter aircraft, and certainly not a surveillance aircraft either, something much less significant, Wolf.
And I take it Beirut, still a city pretty much deserted, although we see a motorcyclist driving behind you right now.
You know, the southern suburbs, Wolf, where a lot of the strikes have been, the streets are deserted there. People taking shelter in schools, or they've gotten out of the city if they can. In the north of the city, there is still a lot of traffic around. That area hasn't been targeted as much. The businesses there, some are closed, some are open. I talked to a man who owns a huge beachfront resort. He told me it's down to only 2 or 3% on a week ago. So people are staying away. But on the streets, in the north of the city, people still about. In this part of the city, just a few more coming out. They're getting used to the situation. But in the south, where most of the shelling is, people just staying right out of the way, Wolf.
All right, Nick, stand by. We're going to be coming back to you. Nick Robertson is on the scene for us in Beirut. At the same time, Israelis are pounding Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon and elsewhere from northern Israel. CNN's John Voss is on the scene for us. He filed this report.
Hour after hour, day after day, for almost a week now. These Israeli howitzers have pounded southern Lebanon, while warplanes and helicopters attack from the air. Just across the border, the impact is devastating. Lebanese civilians are dying, homes, buildings and bridges destroyed. The Israelis are aiming for mobile rocket launchers like these. Small, quick to set up, hard to hit.
Wherever you can see Katyusha rockets launched from Lebanon, we actually can see it here as a target. So these people here, actually the artillery, are shooting exactly to the place that is being shot from Lebanon.
But there's little Israel can do once the Katyushas are in the air. About 1,000 Hezbollah rockets have hit Israeli towns and cities. Kiryat Shimona is right on the front lines, and life here has come to a standstill. For a few hours, residents come up for air. They spend most of the day and all of the night terrified in underground bunkers.
So how many people would be staying here?
30 people, or something like that.
Mordecai Kedoshim says, along with many others, he's close to breaking. The bomb shelters are hot and stuffy. There's little to do, he says, except wait for the next attack.
You cannot go relax when you hear boom, boom, boom.
And if this firepower is not enough to stop the Hezbollah rockets, Israel still has the option of sending in ground forces. Tanks, armored vehicles and soldiers are gathering on the border. They're waiting and praying. John Vos, CNN, on the Israel-Lebanon border.
And we're going to go back to John Voss live as soon as he's available. We understand the location where he's at right now, coming under fire. We'll go to John Voss in northern Israel as soon as he's available. Let's move on to President Bush's role in trying to tamp down hostilities in the Middle East. In the process, he vented his frustrations with the crisis in not such a diplomatic way. Our White House correspondent Suzanne Malveaux has been traveling with the president. Suzanne?
Well, Wolf, President Bush is back in Washington, but here in St. Petersburg during the G8 summit, the president was dogged with questions about how the U.S. would work with its allies to try to de-escalate the crisis in the Middle East.
At the conclusion of the G8 summit, it was a picture of unity. The leaders of the world's richest countries issuing a statement seemingly in lockstep on confronting the Middle East crisis. But a rare behind-the-scenes moment captures the frustration of raw diplomacy. During a luncheon photo op with microphones set on the tables, the candid conversations of the world's most powerful leaders were being transmitted, unbeknownst to them. Most notably between President Bush and his closest ally, British Prime Minister Tony Blair. Earlier in the day, Blair and UN Secretary General Kofi Annan publicly rolled out a plan.
Extremely concerned about the situation.
To send international forces to help end the cross-border attacks between Hezbollah and Israel. Privately, President Bush expresses frustration.
What about Kofi? That seems all right. I don't like the sequence. His attitude is basically ceasefire and everything that's happening. But, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think the only thing I think is really difficult is we can't stop this unless you get this international business agreed.
Publicly, President Bush has condemned Syria and Iran for supporting Hezbollah's strikes against Israel. But privately, he failed to convince the other G8 leaders to make the same judgment in their group statement. Mr. Bush urges the UN to do more, specifically calling for Annan to reach out to Syria's leader Bashar al-Assad in fairly explicit terms.
See, the irony is that what they need to do is get Syria to get Hezbollah to stop doing this shit, and it's over. Why?
Because I think this is all part of the same thing.
Yeah.
Look, what does he think? He thinks if Lebanon turns out fine, if you get a solution in Israel and Palestine, Iraq goes in a bad way.
Yeah, he's through.
He's had it. And that's what this whole thing's about. It's the same with Iran.
I felt like telling Kofi to call, get on the phone with Assad and make something happen.
At this point, Blair realizes their conversation is being picked up and turns off the microphone. But Blair is asked about their candid talks, including Mr. Bush's cursing at a press conference later on. Not missing a beat, Blair is back on message.
What the president was saying, what I'm saying, is that everybody around the table should use its influence on Syria to try to get this to stop.
Well, the White House spokesman says that while the president's private comments may have been more blunt, that they certainly are consistent with what the president has said publicly in calling for peace in the Middle East. Wolf?
Suzanne Malveaux traveling with the president. Suzanne, thanks very much.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Let's immediately go to Haifa, Israel. Christiane Amanpour is standing by. There are important developments happening right now. What's the latest, Christiane?
Well, Wolf, as you mentioned, John Vos was unable to talk to you because of a barrage of rocket fire, and we could actually hear the impacts as that was going on, and we've been able to hear impacts quite a distance away from us, perhaps closer to the Israeli border with Lebanon. And this has been going on for quite some time during the day. Here in Haifa, we have heard about 6 times at least the air raid sirens going off this morning, and several times those were accompanied by incoming rocket fire from the Hezbollah positions. We witnessed ourselves throughout the day rocket fire that had fallen short and into the sea, and some that had fallen onto the land, and indeed one had almost brought down a building, certainly brought down the facade of one building, and there were some injuries. Tonight as well, there has been, as I say, rockets falling in the northern Israel area, the town of Safat, where near a hospital there, a rocket fell, shattering glass, and we're told that 5 injuries have been incurred over there. But as this keeps going on, the Israelis say that they are determined to put Hezbollah out of business. They're telling us that they don't have any plans to widen this war, no plans to attack Iran or Syria, unless, of course, they are directly attacked by those countries. On background, we're hearing from officials that there is no plan for any kind of ground invasion of Lebanon. And at the moment, it seems they're trying to establish a buffer zone, which apparently they think they can patrol from the air, buffer zone between Hezbollah and the southern border of Lebanon, a buffer zone between Lebanon and Israel. Wolf?
It's after 11 p.m. in Israel right now. It's clearly nighttime. It's dark. How unusual is it for these rockets to be coming in from southern Lebanon at night? We had been told earlier they were doing it during the daylight hours because at night you can see the flash, the lights going off, and it's easier, presumably, for Israelis to target those Katyusha rocket launchers at night than it is during the day. But you say right now, even though it's dark, these rockets are coming into Israel.
Yes, we've certainly heard the impacts, and the same happened last night and over the last few nights. I can't tell you about the light of the outgoing from the Lebanese side, but certainly we have seen and heard the impacts coming in after the daylight hours.
Christiane Amanpour, we're going to have you stand by. We're going to come back to you soon. Christiane is on the scene for us in Haifa. Thank you, Christiane, for that. Let's go to Jack Cafferty in New York. He's joining us with the Cafferty File. What a mess, Jack.
Horrible. Sending international peacekeepers to the Middle East, one of the options being discussed now. UN Secretary General Kofi Annan and British Prime Minister Tony Blair are both calling for an international stabilization force to go to Israel and help end the fighting. They say it'd be a first step in a series of actions to stop the violence. However, Blair acknowledged that British troops are, quote, somewhat stretched because of the Iraq War, masters of understatement, those Brits. The European Union's also considering sending peacekeepers to Lebanon, but Israel's prime minister wants Lebanese forces to take control of the border with Israel and wants the Hezbollah military disarmed. So the question this hour is this: is sending an international peacekeeping force to the Middle East a good idea? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile, CNN.com, or go to CNN.com/Cafferty File. Wolf.
Jack, thank you very much. It's going to be a busy week here. We're getting word that John Voss, our correspondent, is now joining us from northern Israel. He's on the phone with us. John, I take it the area where you are has just come under fire from southern Lebanon. Is that right?
That's right, Wolf. We've actually moved our location because it is simply no longer safe to be there. We were with an Israeli artillery unit somewhere in the northern part of Israel. We spent most of the day there. They've been shelling positions within southern Lebanon. Had been fairly much outgoing traffic for the better part of the day, but then within the last half an hour or 50 minutes or so, 4 Katyusha rockets came in, and we took cover, we killed the lights, we stayed down for a while, and then we decided that that location just simply is no longer safe, and we now have moved to the outskirts of a town called Metula, right near the border. However, we are moving to a bomb shelter.
John, is it normal for the Hezbollah to be launching these rockets at nighttime? I asked Christiane, who's in Haifa, this question. She says yes, they've been getting the barrage from the Katyusha rockets at night as well as during the day. How normal is it, though, from your vantage point, for these Katyushas to be coming in at night?
Well, when this all began last week, what we saw was a lot of the Katyusha rockets being launched in the morning, around 7 o'clock, as many people were making their way to work, and then being launched again in the early evening, the late afternoon, as people were coming home or heading out for the evening. The reason for that is obvious. There'd be more people on the streets, therefore more people could be killed or hurt. But now, certainly, the pace of the Katyusha rocket fire and other missiles has certainly picked up as this military campaign by the Israelis escalates across Lebanon. Hezbollah is retaliating with fairly regular fire. Not just Katyusha rockets, but it seems a lot of other missiles as well.
And the word we're getting, John, from you, our other correspondents and producers in the northern part of Israel, is that Israelis are either living underground in bunkers or they've escaped. They've driven south towards Tel Aviv and Jerusalem to get out of harm's way. Is that the sense that you get from the area?
Well, we've just arrived at a bomb shelter, as I said, on the outskirts of Metula. There's probably about 5 families deep underground now in this bunker. I've just come up briefly to check in, just to let you know what's happening. But certainly this is a scene being repeated, especially in these towns very, very close to the border with Lebanon. Others are taking shelter in those safe rooms. But what people are saying to me is, those who have stayed here at least, is, well, where is safe right now? We know that earlier tonight the Israeli military confirmed to us that they had actually hit with an airstrike a long-range missile, possibly Iranian-made, that could reach Tel Aviv. Apparently an Israeli Air Force jet fired on a transport truck, destroying some of the missiles, setting another one off, which then crashed into the ground later. It was erroneously reported by Lebanese television that was in fact a downed Israeli F-16. Israel says all of its warplanes are accounted for. But the fact that Hezbollah has these missiles up to 200 kilometers, 120 miles or so, which could reach Tel Aviv, for many people is indicative that nowhere is safe.
John Voss, stay safe over there on the outskirts of Metula in northern Israel. We're going to get back to you very, very soon with all the latest. We're not leaving this story. We're going to continue to watch it here in the Situation Room. Also coming up after this short break, Americans and Europeans trapped in Lebanon, desperate to escape the fighting. We're going to go live to the Pentagon for the latest on efforts by the U.S. military to try to evacuate U.S. citizens. Plus, members of Congress, including Senator Hillary Clinton, speaking out on the Mideast crisis. We're going to go live to Capitol Hill to find out what they're saying right now and later. A very, very deadly day in Iraq. Let's not forget what's happening in Iraq. We'll have much more on that, much more in our top stories from around the world. The latest on the crisis in the Middle East. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
The Situation Room is brought to you by Head On. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On is available without prescription at your nearest pharmacy.
Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On is available without a prescription at retailers nationwide. New from the makers of Head On, introducing Activon. Joint and muscle pain, Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Joint and Muscle, in stores now.
Freedom from hemorrhoids? Freedom Hemorrhoid Cream. Freedom from hemorrhoids? Freedom Hemorrhoid Cream. Freedom from hemorrhoids? Freedom Hemorrhoid Cream. Available at CVS and Rite Aid.
Tonight on AC 360, Anderson Cooper's on the front lines and in the heart of the crisis in the Middle East. 360, tonight, 10 Eastern.
Hey, it's me, Mike Rowe, host of Dirty Jobs. Guess what I'm doing? That's right, Shark Week is back, and this year, it's going to be dirty.
You're turning me into bait. That's what you're doing.
See how far scientists will go to learn even more. Dive into Shark Week and get an insider's look at jobs that bite, starting July 30th on the Discovery Channel.
You need a refill, Dad.
Mom, can I take your lip gloss?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. Let me open that, Nana.
Every kid should be like you.
To learn more, visit drugfree.org.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
New warfare and new diplomatic moves in the Middle East crisis. President Bush planning to send the Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice to the region at some point in the future. No word yet on when she will be heading out. Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Kofi Annan and the British Prime Minister Tony Blair are calling for an international force to be sent to the Israeli-Lebanese border. Oil prices that have been rising amid the turmoil in the Middle East fell a bit today. U.S. crude oil prices closed down nearly $2 to $75.30 a barrel. and new casualty counts to report. Lebanon now says 170 people have been killed and 429 have been wounded in the fighting there, this day 6. Israel says 24 of its people have been killed in the conflict. More than 300 have been wounded. There's other important news happening as well. We're going to go back to the Middle East in a moment, but first let's check in with CNN's Betty Nguyen. She's joining us from the CNN Center with a quick look at some other stories making news. Betty?
Hi there, Wolf. At least 40 people were killed in a flare-up of violence in a town south of Baghdad today. Iraq's defense ministry says 2 car bombs exploded in a market in Mahmoudiya. Officials say dozens of heavily armed gunmen then opened fire. Authorities say at least 2 suspected terrorists were detained. 3 U.S. soldiers were killed in separate violence, and that brings the number of U.S. military deaths in Iraq to 2,550. Well, the death toll is expected to rise after a powerful earthquake and tsunami struck the Indonesian island of Java today. Indonesia's Red Cross says at least 80 people were killed when a 6-foot wave crashed into beach resorts along Java's south coast. The tsunami was triggered by a 7.7 magnitude earthquake deep in the Indian Ocean. Witnesses say thousands of people raced to higher ground as that wave approached. And a smooth landing for the Space Shuttle Discovery. Take a look. It touched down at Kennedy Space Center in Florida this morning. During the 13-day mission, Discovery's 6-member crew went on 3 spacewalks and dropped off supplies, equipment, and a German astronaut at the International Space Station. This is NASA's 2nd shuttle flight since the 2003 Columbia disaster. Well, hundreds of family members, friends, and rescue workers are dedicating a seaside memorial in New York. It honors those killed when TWA Flight 800 exploded and crashed into the Atlantic Ocean. 10 years ago today, the Paris-bound Boeing 747 exploded shortly after takeoff from Kennedy Airport, killing all 230 people on board. Investigators believe a spark from a short circuit ignited that plane's center fuel tank. Wolf?
Betty, thank you very much. Coming up, the strategy behind the fighting. I'll speak with 2 military experts. Retired U.S. Army Brigadier General James Spider Marks and Israeli Brigadier General Michael Herzog. He's currently visiting here in Washington. Plus, what do you think about the conflict? Bill Schneider takes a closer look at what Americans are saying. Stay with us. Much more coverage of the crisis in the Middle East right after this.
I hope I said that right. I'm Matt Tucker. Welcome to America.
Oh, you're Chinese. That's cool.
I worked on it all morning.
Century 21.
At Ford, we're developing new technologies to reduce our country's dependence on foreign oil and help you save money at the pump. We were the first American automaker to offer a hybrid. This year, we'll have 250,000 E85 ethanol vehicles that run on fuel grown in the heartland. And today, Ford Motor Company has a dozen models that get at least 30 miles a gallon. While we can't control the price of gasoline, we're innovating to reduce the need.
Welcome back to the Situation Room. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. Northern Israel under attack again in the still exploding conflict between that country and Hezbollah guerrillas. Israeli security officials report a new barrage of rockets fired only within the past few minutes from southern Lebanon into northern Israel. We just heard from Christian Amanpour in Haifa, John Voss near Metula in northern Israel. We're going to go back there, get the latest. At least one reportedly hit Haifa, where a 3-story apartment building was destroyed by an attack earlier in the day. Israel pressed its assault on Hezbollah's home base of Beirut today, striking numerous targets. And Israelis' aircraft hit a truck in Beirut carrying missiles that could reach potentially Tel Aviv from southern Lebanon. Some Americans have fled the danger in Beirut for Cyprus, and the U.S. military now moving forward with a much more robust evacuation plan for U.S. citizens. About 25,000 American citizens, maybe many more, are estimated to be in Lebanon, but it's not clear how many actually are trying to leave right now. The open warfare between Israel and Hezbollah fighters in the Middle East continuing. CNN's Tom Foreman is here in the Situation Room. He's going to show us a little bit about some of the targets that have been hit on both sides.
How much has happened in a week here, Wolf? It's unbelievable.
This is only day 6.
Well, unbelievable. A very short period of time, but take a look at what has happened. Once again, we'll give you a point of reference. There's Africa. We're moving up here to the Lebanon-Israeli border. Small area, about the size of New Jersey. That's Israel down here. That's Lebanon up here. It all started on that border. And since then, let's look at what Israel has done. It started off after these 2 soldiers were kidnapped 6 days ago. Israel started attacking right across the border, trying to seal off the Hezbollah forces. Lebanon, independent country, sovereign nation, but Hezbollah, these rebels, work in the southern part of the country with autonomy. They can hardly be controlled, and they control the border. Since then, it has expanded substantially. Israel went on to hit the Beirut airport many times. They knocked out the runways there. They knocked out fuel supplies there. They knocked out supply roads. And they have really hammered southern Beirut. This is a place where many of the Hezbollah leaders are believed to have operations bases. They've really been hammered there so much that a lot of people in the area are believed to have retreated up into these mountains to hide out. Many of the people of this entire city of Beirut have gone into hiding up there to avoid all of that. All the way into North Lebanon, there have been attacks now up in Tripoli, Al-Aba, Baalbek, all up in here. There were attacks. Radar stations along the coast were knocked out. And then in the Bekaa Valley, which is one of the places through which it is believed that Hezbollah has brought in missiles from both Syria and Iran, supplied that way through the Bekaa Valley. That's been hit. And that's basically what's been happening in terms of how much Israel has just been hammering Lebanon right now. Tricky stuff, because Lebanon is a sovereign nation, and even though they're going after Hezbollah, they're having to do so within the confines of a nation that is saying, it's fine that you're trying to get these guys. They're actually not saying that at this point, but nonetheless, what they're saying is you're running rampant over our country to do it. But now let's look just a little bit south and see what's happening on the other side. What is being done by Hezbollah is pretty much limited to these missiles, but there have been a lot of them. They're believed to have thousands and thousands of short-range missiles, which they've been firing across the border, hitting all sorts of border towns here. But more importantly to the Israelis, they've also been hitting down here at Haifa. Again, gives you a sense of scale. This is only about 20 miles away from the border, but up until now, Hezbollah has not hit that area. It's really terrified people. At least 20 missiles are believed to have landed within the city. This is only about 300,000 people living in this town. So that puts it about the size of Louisville maybe, or Anchorage, Alaska, something like that. Newark, that's about the size. So you can understand the impact of all these rocket attacks. That's not accounting the ones which may have come along just very recently. So Wolf, that's what we're looking at. And of course the big concern is what's going to happen as this goes on, because as you can see from a little problem on the border, it has already spread to a much bigger area.
And a lot of death and destruction in the process.
We'll have a lot more on those rockets and the capability of those in the next hour.
They're really rockets. They're not missiles.
Yeah, they're
the
rockets.
Katyusha
I mean,
rockets.
use them somewhat interchangeably, but rocket correctly.
The generals who are about to come here are going to be quibbling over the words like missiles versus rockets. So we'll just correct the record and point out that these are mostly rockets, although there is an assumption that the Israelis have that the Hezbollah has been provided with some short-range missiles as well. They tried apparently to launch one earlier
one's
today.
coming at you, you don't care what it is. You
That's
just want
right.
to get out of the way.
Tom Foreman, thanks very much for that. As I said, 2 generals standing by to speak with us here in the Situation Room, a U.S. Retired general and an Israeli general. Both will give us a little bit more on the military aspects of what's going on. Meanwhile, the open warfare between the Israelis and the Hezbollah fighters stirring some very strong emotions and reactions among members of Congress here in Washington. Let's check in with our congressional correspondent, Andrea Koppel. Andrea?
Well, for almost a week after Hezbollah attacked Israel, the House and the Senate are gearing up to finally take on the issue this week. Congressional staffers say that the House Republican leadership had hoped to wrap things up on Friday, but they couldn't get enough members to agree on a text.
Far from the Middle East, in New York City, close to 2,000 Jewish Americans rally in support of Israel. Also on hand, New York Democrat Senator Hillary Clinton.
Israel has every right to defend herself, and the world must know that the United States, our government and our people will stand with Israel.
A sentiment echoed in Washington by Congressman Eric Cantor, the only Jewish Republican in the House. In a sharply worded statement, Cantor called Hezbollah's actions an act of war against the state of Israel.
It's very clear that there was an armed attack against the state of Israel. Any time that there is that type of aggression, I view that as an act of war.
House Republican leaders hope to hold 2 hours of open debate on the latest Middle East crisis as soon as Tuesday. A bipartisan resolution is currently the focus of heated discussions. Republican and Democratic lawmakers tell CNN among the main sticking points whether to criticize the Lebanese government for failing to rein in Hezbollah and whether to offer Israel a blank check to defend itself. Arab American Congressman Darrell Issa agrees Congress should condemn the kidnapping of Israeli soldiers by Hamas and Hezbollah, but stop short of giving Israel a green light to do whatever is necessary to get them back.
Well, certainly Israel has a right to use any and all means appropriate to recover their soldiers, but, seeking out a soldier is not bombing a bridge.
On the Senate side, they're also trying, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, to reach consensus on acceptable language for a bipartisan resolution as well. But one complicating factor, Wolf, is that John Warner, the senior Republican who is the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, is so far withholding his final word on a resolution. In fact, he is so far the most influential player who is unwilling to offer unconditional support for Israel, according to Senate staffers. That's because Warner worries that the U.S. is the only country that can rein Israel in, and if it doesn't do so, that could have dire consequences for U.S. troops in Iraq. In particular, he believes that things could spin out of control very easily, Wolf.
Senator Warner on Friday issuing a statement urging some restraint on the part of the Israelis. Thanks very much for that, Andrea Koppel on the Hill. And when we come back, we're going to have a little bit more on what U.S. public attitudes are. Bill Schneider making sure that we know what's happening on the public opinion front. That's coming up. Also, the diplomatic moves in the next hour here in the Situation Room. I'll speak live with the Israeli ambassador to the United States, Daniel Ayalon. I'll also speak live with the top representative from Lebanon's foreign ministry, who's now at the United Nations, Nuhad Mahmoud. All that coming up. Much more of our special coverage on the crisis in the Middle East right after this.
It's back to school, and Best Buy's got what kids need to succeed. Like laptops with fingerprint scanners for extra security. Convertible notebooks that let you jot notes directly on the screen for new ways to learn. And Media Center computers that let you record, watch, and pause live TV. Check out the Gateway Convertible Notebook with dual-core technology. It's a perfect blend of performance and creativity. Save big for back to school, now at Best Buy.
Office Depot, a leader in mobile technology, can build a notebook computer to the most important specs of all, yours. Office Depot will customize a notebook to help you go wireless wherever your work life takes you. Now build an HP Pavilion with Intel Centrino mobile technology and an all-in-one printer starting at $499.99 after mail-in and instant savings.
Taking care of business.
Ask me.
Ask me. If I don't bring it up, you bring it up.
Let's not wait until you've lost any more bone.
Let's not wait till you break a bone.
You're a busy woman.
Osteoporosis is serious business because it can get worse. But bone loss can be reversed. Fosamax Plus D treats postmenopausal osteoporosis. It actually helps reverse bone loss. It helps prevent hip and spine fractures.
Plus, it's got vitamin D.
You shouldn't use Fosamax Plus D if you have certain disorders of the esophagus.
You have to be able to stand or sit upright for 30 minutes.
If you have severe kidney disease or low blood calcium, you shouldn't take Fosamax Plus D. It's not for vitamin D deficiency. Tell me about your stomach and digestive problems and your medications. Vitamins and supplements, too.
Stop taking Fosamax Plus D and call me right away if you get heartburn or it gets worse, or swallowing becomes difficult or painful, or if you have chest pain. These could be signs of serious upper digestive problems.
So call me. Make an appointment. Give me a call. We'll talk about it.
Ask me. Ask me about Fosamax Plus D. Bone loss can be reversed. Ask me.
Only within the past hour, more shelling of northern Israel. We're going to go back to the scene live, watch what's happening. We're also watching what's happening on this side of the Atlantic as well. Many Americans closely observing the situation in the Middle East and wondering whatever happened to the peace process. Our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider, has been watching this situation as well. Bill?
Wolf, we've seen many tragic conflicts in the Middle East, but this one is different. This war, unlike previous wars, is Israel versus radical Islamic movements, Hamas, Hezbollah, and their supporters in Iran and Syria. That should bring Israel and the United States closer together.
There is a common enemy and a common interest in defeating them.
In February, shortly after Palestinians elected a Hamas government, American public sympathy for Israel reached a high point. At the same time, optimism about the prospects for peace reached a low point. Now the prospects for peace look bleak. President Clinton's ambassador to Israel blames the Bush administration's view.
The best way to deal with the problems of the Middle East was through regime change and democratization, rather than through the promotion of negotiations for peace and an end to the Arab-Israeli conflict.
Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice had a harsh name for that argument.
Because now we are fighting extremism, because now we are pressing for a democratic voice for the people of the Middle East, that somehow that has now caused the current crisis, I think is grotesque.
Critics argue that elections in the Middle East have backfired.
People have two real choices and only two real choices: the ruling elites and the Islamists. There's nothing in between.
Dangerous radicals have gained a foothold in power. Secretary Rice's view? It was worse before, when the U.S., she said,
was pursuing stability at the expense of democracy, and it turned out, as we learned on 9/11 or July 7th here or in London or across the world, was getting neither.
If the Palestinian cause gets hijacked by extremists, it's hard to see how there can be a land for peace deal or any peace negotiations at all. That has many Arabs, as well as Israelis and Americans, worried.
All right, as well they should be. Thank you very much, Bill Schneider, reporting. Up next, we're going to take a look at the military situation as open warfare continues. Day 6 of the crisis in the Middle East. Two generals, an Israeli general, a U.S. general, standing by to share their thoughts. Also, at the top of the hour, we'll go live to Haifa. Christiane Amanpour is on the scene for us. We'll go live to Beirut. Nick Robertson is there for us. Much more of our special coverage. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
When it comes to good health, heart disease is a common enemy.
My mother has heart disease. Will I develop it too?
How can I prevent heart disease? Are there new medicines available?
For answers, ask your doctor or visit these websites. Researchers at America's pharmaceutical companies are working on 146 new medicines to fight heart disease and strokes, partnering with healthcare providers to better inform patients about treatment options. Go online and learn, because knowledge is the best medicine of all.
Hello, I'm a Mac. Hello, I'm a PC. We have a lot in common these days. We both run a Microsoft Office.
We share files. It's great. We just get along.
PC? Okay.
Hi, I'm a PC.
Okay, we're past that. We moved beyond that.
Yeah, I had to restart there. You know how it is.
No, actually, I don't.
Oh, what? Macs don't have to.
We had him, then we lost him. I'm gonna go get IT. Keep an eye on him.
Ditech.com can save you thousands of dollars in closing costs.
With our previous refinances, we ended up paying a lot in closing costs. This time, we went to Ditech, and it was only $395.
Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
When Uncle Ernie got heartburn, I handed him Pepcid Complete. Only Pepcid Complete starts to neutralize acid on contact and keeps heartburn from coming back all day or all night. So Uncle Ernie was in Mushu heaven. Pepcid Complete. Just one and heartburn's done.
Israel's prime minister is vowing to stand tough against Hezbollah in Lebanon. What does that mean for the Middle East crisis? Could the U.S. military be pulled into the situation right now? Joining us now, two experts. Israeli Defense Forces Brigadier General Michael Herzog. He's currently a visiting military fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. And also joining us, retired U.S. Brigadier General James Spider Marks. He's our CNN analyst. First of all, that video we saw earlier of what Lebanese television initially said was an Israeli warplane being shot down. What do you know? What happened?
To the best of my knowledge, they claim, as you say, that an Israeli airplane was shot down, but when our people analyzed the films, they came to the conclusion that Hezbollah tried to launch a long-range rocket, a Zilzal rocket, with a range of over 120 kilometers. That's a rocket that can hit Tel Aviv. We also know that probably
And what
later,
they saw was what? That's rocket going up and then...
Going up and exploding. It failed for some reason, maybe a technical reason, we don't know. Later on, our Air Force managed to strike at a Zilzal launcher, which is very important because they have many missiles but few launchers.
Because mostly what's been coming in so far have been rockets, Katyusha rockets, which have a much shorter range. If the Hezbollah manages to fire off a much more sophisticated, longer-range missile, that changes the equation for the Israelis.
Well, it does, but Hezbollah has the Katyusha, which is in between about 5 miles to 12 miles in terms of capacity. Then it also has the Fajr 3 and 5 that gets it out between about 25 to 45 miles. But the Zilzal is a rocket, if I'm not mistaken. It's not a missile. So it does not have any form of guidance other than azimuth and attitude and go.
So it's not a Scud?
It's not. It doesn't have any guidance. So it's a free rocket over ground.
But it still represents, you point out, a threat to as far south as Tel Aviv?
Yes, absolutely.
How many of these rockets do they have?
It's not clear, but we believe that they have dozens of long-range rockets. They have 30,000 rockets as a whole, a few hundred medium-range and long-range rockets, and some of them can reach Tel Aviv.
And they certainly surprised the Israelis when they had a pretty sophisticated rocket or missile that damaged, seriously damaged, killed 4 Israeli sailors on that warship off the Lebanese coast.
That is correct. They fired a C-802 short-to-sea missile. That's originally a Chinese-manufactured missile, which was improved by the Iranians and fired by Hezbollah. And I would say, I assume that Hezbollah wouldn't fire this missile without Iranian consent.
A lot of analysts I've spoken to have suggested it would be crazy for the Israelis to do what they did in 1982 and send ground forces back into southern Lebanon, given the fact that over these past 6 years since Israel withdrew from Lebanon, there have been landmines, IEDs, all sorts of explosive devices planted there, and a lot of Israeli soldiers, even if Israel does have a military advantage, would be killed in the process, almost like the insurgency that's going on in Iraq.
Wolf, the thing you have to realize is that Israel stands to gain, and I won't speak for your nation, but Israel stands to gain if it can clear some area in southern Lebanon, because all that does is that pushes the rockets further north, and it decreases the distance that they can interdict into Israel. Now, clearly it's going to be dangerous because, as you described, there would be mines, there would be booby traps, there could be potential ambushes. But those are conditions. And within those conditions, you still have to execute operations, and you need to clear out the Hezbollah that exists in southern Lebanon.
What about the notion of Israeli ground forces with armor moving back into South Lebanon?
I don't think that you're going to see the same kind of operation that Israel is undertaking in 1978, the Litani operation, or in 1982. What you're probably going to see are limited operations inside the Lebanese territory to clear kind of a land strip out of Hezbollah positions, landmines, and so on, and ultimately make it easier for another force, the Lebanese army, perhaps supported by international elements, to go down and assume control of over the border zone between Israel and Lebanon.
A lot of us remember what happened in 1983 when U.S. Marines, with the best of intentions, were sent in by President Reagan into Beirut. 241 U.S. troops were killed in that truck bombing at the compound. Now we hear that Marine ships, Navy ships and Marines and other U.S. troops might be deployed to try to evacuate U.S. citizens from Lebanon. How complicated, how worrying of a situation is this for the United States military?
An evacuation is always very, very difficult, primarily because you have families and you have U.S. citizens that are not necessarily enthusiastically leaving Lebanon in this case. There's got to be a very clear inventory about who's getting on the aircraft or who's getting on the ship or who's getting on the truck. So it's a very deliberate, very precise operation, and it's fundamentally lethargic. It takes time. It's slow moving.
One final question. Zev Schiff, the military analyst for the Israeli newspaper Haaretz, wrote earlier today that it's still only just starting the Israeli military campaign, still a long way to go. Is that your assessment as well?
I think it takes some time before you see a ceasefire in place. That depends on the terms of the ceasefire. I mean, Israelis stated their terms, namely that you want to see a Lebanese army go down south and assume control and sovereignty, and you want to see a serious treatment of the issue of disarmament of Hezbollah. So I think talks about ceasefire are just beginning, but it may take several days, perhaps even more, before you get to a real ceasefire.
All right, General Herzog, thanks very much. General Marks, thanks to you as well. And coming up, he's not a familiar name to many Americans, but that can certainly change if the crisis in the Middle East continues to escalate. We're going to take an in-depth look at the man who heads Hezbollah. Stay with us.
Tonight on AC 360, Anderson Cooper's on the front lines and in the heart of the crisis in the Middle East. 360, tonight, 10 Eastern.
For all your plans, watch Weather Scan. Neighborhood forecasts get you ready. Traffic updates keep you on the go. Plus, with Doppler radar, it's all the information you need, on screen, all the time. Powered by the Weather Channel, the authority. Available from Comcast Cable. Weather Scan, all local, all the time.
Shopping for a new Subaru should be fun, don't you think? And it is at Wentworth Subaru City, our brand new dealership in the heart of Portland. Smiling faces, super service, and more. More Outbacks, more Foresters, more of the new B9 Tribecas. 6 acres of selection and great pricing too. Come see why our customers say, I went and it was worth it. Wentworth Subaru City, 4 blocks south of the Convention Center.
VHIX.com helps people find the car they want at a dealer near them. How do we improve that user experience?
Include a vanity mirror so people can get an idea of how they look in their new car. Give them a free VHIX comb, too.
And your idea?
VHIX TV. Not just web pages, cool video test drives powered by Wheels TV.
Cool video test drives, now at VHIX.com. Just click Autos on Comcast.net.
Had it with slow downloads? With Comcast high-speed internet, there's no waiting for downloads or a great deal. Call 1-800-COMCAST and save big during our $1 sale. Get 1 month of blazing fast Comcast high-speed internet service for just $1. Free modem lease for 1 full year and professional installation for only $10. Save over $175. Hurry, the $1 sale ends August 7th. So call 1-800-COMCAST today.
Get to the truth. It's time for Answers. Lou Dobbs tonight, CNN 6 Eastern.
While attacks rage on both sides of the Israeli-Lebanese border, the internet is giving us an unprecedented look into what's happening on the ground in this conflict. Joining us now to help us walk through what we're seeing on the internet is our senior internet producer, Alex Wellen. What are we seeing?
It is extraordinary. We're getting first-hand accounts. We're getting photographs. There's a video I want you to take a look at here, Wolf, and our viewers to listen to. If you listen carefully, this was posted on a popular site called YouTube. This was viewed more than 100,000 times. You hear the sirens. You see this person in Haifa, actually in Israel, just about 30 or 40 miles outside of the Lebanese border. And you hear that carefully? That sound is of rockets landing, we believe. And this is the kind of thing that's being distributed on the internet. Other things that we want to point to. As far as Haifa is concerned, this here is a hallway where people are listening to these sounds and using their internet access. Another site in Haifa points out that it's live from an Israeli bunker. That's what it's called. It just surfaced. Now, I should mention to you, Wolf, the positive is that we see these images right away, real time, but they are definitely politically charged. People have their sides on the Lebanese, may it be Israeli or Hezbollah. So as we move on, let's change. Let's move closer to the border. This is a kibbutz here and close to the border, and what we see is we're going to see photographs of people leaving, children getting out of the way, getting out of this kibbutz to a safer area. They hear rockets all the time as well. Now let's go over the border. If we go over the border to blogging Beirut, this site is extraordinary. Everything, minute by minute, photographs. Here you see the containers, pictures of containers for supplies. We also see this. This is a popular tourist site. No one. It's sometimes what we don't see, which is so telling. Also, the streets abandoned. Not a stray cat can be seen is a caption associated with that. Also, an American in Beirut talks about, no photographs, but again, text talks about what it's like in a Katrina-like experience where everyone's evacuating. A trip that took about 2 hours ordinarily is now taking 12 hours. So we are getting insight into something like we've never seen before.
And we're going to see a lot more of this in our next hour here in the Situation Room. Alex, thanks very much. A whole new dimension to watching this story unfold. The internet, we're going to have more on this story coming up. While much of the world is focused on the Middle East crisis, the U.S. Congress right now taking on a culture wars issue at home and an issue that pits President Bush directly against several members of his own party. Our congressional correspondent Dana Bash is covering the battle over funding for embryonic stem cell research. What's the latest, Dana?
Hi, Wolf. Well, just as the Senate opened 2 days of debate this afternoon, the White House released this statement reiterating President Bush's promise to use his first veto on this bill.
In stem cell labs like this at Johns Hopkins University, scientists hope to find cures for diseases like Parkinson's and diabetes. Dr. John Gerhardt says progress is stymied by limits enacted by President Bush on federal funds for research using excess embryos from in vitro fertilization.
The current set of cells that we have will never see a patient. There are too many issues about those cells. We want to work with the better material. That's the key in all of this.
The Senate is poised to pass legislation lifting those restrictions, setting the stage for a dramatic political moment. The president's first veto ever on an issue supported by a majority of the American people and some fellow Republicans.
I don't know how you can really turn your back on research that could potentially help 1 out of 3 Americans who have some sort of affliction out there, particularly when you're using nothing but excess embryos.
It is an intensely emotional and politically dicey debate, especially wrenching for Republicans. Majority Leader Bill Frist is one of several self-described pro-life Republicans who says science is paramount.
To limit on cell lines available for federally research, those original limits, given what has happened in science today and what we have learned, is too restrictive.
Others call research with any embryo immoral.
Since when do we look at human life to the point that we would use taxpayer dollars to destroy human life? Innocent human life.
Both sides opened the debate with human stories to make their case. Opponents of embryonic stem cell research like Kathy Pell said her daughter's birth defect was helped with stem cells from cord blood, not embryos.
2 weeks after we came back from Duke, she looked up at me and smiled for the first time ever.
In terms of politics, Republicans are worried about the ramifications of a maiden Bush veto on a popular issue 4 months before Election Day. So along with the bill they know Mr. Bush will veto, they plan to pass 2 stem cell measures he'll sign.
Now, one of those measures is aimed at promoting methods of research using stem cells without destroying embryos. Democrats will call that nothing more than political cover for Republicans. They intend to use the Bush veto, if there is one, against Republicans as a weapon this November. But, Wolf, the truth is the politics of stem cell research is about as untested as the science. Wolf.
Dana Bash reporting for us. Dana, thank you for that. And up next, we're going to get right back to our top story, the crisis in the Middle East. Could international troops help keep the peace in the Middle East or just make things worse? And thousands of Americans right now caught in the crossfire in Lebanon. What is the Pentagon doing to try to move them out of harm's way ASAP? Stay with us. You're in the Situation.
Closed captioning provided by Head On. Head On applied directly to the forehead.
Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On is available without a prescription at retailers nationwide.
Здравствуйте. 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 Правильно, здравствуйте. Thank you.
Дэвид?
Здравствуйте.
Здравствуйте. Рад познакомиться. Nice to meet you.
Тяжелый, устали, конечно. Ну, сейчас девочки сделают. Хотите кофе?
Ну, девочки, знакомьтесь, это Дэвид.
Здравствуйте.
А это наши сотрудницы. Вы должны быть наладить для них, для всех системы CRM, ERP, Database Management. Окей?
What's the international language of business?
PC, server, Windows, okay?
Да. Software everyone understands. Microsoft. Software for the people-ready business.
Where do most of America's homeowners keep most of their savings? In their home, their nest egg. And Freddie Mac helps make home ownership possible. Freddie Mac makes mortgage money available so lenders can make more home loans. We've helped over 44 million families own their own home. And since nearly 20% of America's economy is home and housing related, Freddie Mac also helps strengthen America's future. Freddie Mac, we make home possible. And it's working.
Check back with Jack. He's got the Cafferty file. Jack.
UN Secretary General Kofi Annan and British Prime Minister Tony Blair are calling for an international stabilization force to go to Israel and help end the fighting. The question is sending a stabilization force to the Middle East a good idea? James writes from Boyero, Colorado, an international peacekeeping force in the Middle East would be great. They should be tasked with helping Israel leave the occupied territories and return to their pre-1967 borders where they belong. This would be a giant step toward peace. Sam in New York, a ceasefire with terrorists is a bad idea. We don't seek truces or ceasefires with al-Qaeda, and Israel needs to destroy Hezbollah. Unfortunately, the terrorists hide among innocent people who will be hurt. There really is no alternative but to kill the terrorists. JP, Jack, what's the use of an international peacekeeping force? To protect the Hezbollah terrorists and allow them to attack Israel again? I think it's better to allow Israel, which is doing the dirty job for the rest of the world, to go after these terrorists and protect its borders. Jim writes, having an international force establish peace in Lebanon/Israel would be a great idea if it was practical. The only time a UN force has ever worked is when it's maintaining a peace that was already agreed to by both sides. William writes from Phoenix, looks like Israel's doing what George Bush said he was going to do before he and Cheney set their sights on Iraq's oil, that is, fight the war on terrorism. And David in Garland, Texas says it would be slightly better than sending Homeland Security. Wolf?
Jack, thank you very much. And to our viewers, you're in the Situation Room where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Standing by, CNN reporters across the United States and around the world to bring you today's top stories. Happening now, chaos, carnage, and calls for calm. The bloodshed and the biting words continuing. Israel pounding away inside Lebanon. Hezbollah rains rockets on Israel's northern cities. World leaders are urging calm as civilians caught in the middle run for cover. Also in need of cover are thousands of U.S. citizens and other foreign nationals stuck in Lebanon right now. The U.S. is planning possible evacuations, telling Americans to be ready to leave at a moment's notice. And the U.S. and Israel view him as the chief agitator of a group of terrorists, but he considers himself a man of God and is called Osama bin Laden despicable. So who exactly is the man who leads Hezbollah? I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Fresh rocket fire, airstrikes, and casualties on both sides as Israel and Hezbollah exchange warfare. It's open warfare, day 6 right now. Within just the past few minutes, there's been a new volley of rockets fired at northern Israel, including one that landed near a hospital in the city of Safed, wounding 5 people. Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert is vowing his country will do all it can to defeat Hezbollah and Hamas. And speaking to Israel's Knesset, he borrowed a phrase from President Bush referring to what he called an axis of evil stretching from Tehran to Damascus. Even as the Prime Minister spoke out, Israeli warplanes were carrying out fresh strikes on targets in Lebanon. That country now says at least 170 people have been killed in the fighting. Meanwhile, some countries have begun evacuating their citizens from Lebanon, including the U.S., the Pentagon gearing up to move out thousands of Americans in the coming days. Despite the volatility of the situation, crude oil prices actually were down a little bit today from the record highs of last Thursday and Friday. We're covering all angles of this very fast-moving story. Our CNN correspondents are on the scene for us throughout the region. Christiane Amanpour will be joining us from Haifa, Israel. Nick Robertson is in Beirut. Our senior Pentagon correspondent, Jamie McIntyre, is standing by with evacuation plans. Let's go to Haifa and Christiane first. Christiane?
Well, Wolf, it's already been a 6-day war in this current conflict, and it shows no sign of immediately letting up. Indeed, the Israelis are saying that they need certainly several more days to what they call smash Hezbollah's capability. They know that they're not going to completely annihilate Hezbollah. They know that there is no permanent military solution to this, but they want to cripple, weaken its missile and military ability. They want to create a buffer zone. They want eventually the Lebanese government to assert sovereignty, put its own troops on the border there, and they're also looking at what the international community is proposing, which is a robust new type of international force to be able to actually effectively keep these sides apart, as they did, for instance, in the Sinai when that situation was going on so many years ago. In the meantime, there have been rocket attacks here. The port of Haifa has been closed. There have been something like 6 to 7 series of air raids from the early morning hours to tonight. We've seen with our own eyes the impacts of the Katyusha rockets coming from the Hezbollah positions down to here. Some have landed in the sea, we saw. Some have landed on the territory, and some have caused some damage. One house, one building, the facade was blown off the front, and several injuries were sustained there. As we've also said in the last hour, in Safad up in northern Israel, a rocket hitting near a hospital and causing 5 injuries over there. So this is continuing, as you've reported, the Prime Minister of Israel making a very tough speech that they will continue to defend themselves. On the wider diplomatic level, French Foreign Minister in Beirut, UN's delegation in Beirut and coming here to Israel. You've also reported on these conversations, the candid conversation being overheard between President Bush and Prime Minister Blair, suggesting that somehow it's up to the UN Kofi Annan to tell President Assad of Syria to get the Hezbollah to stop. Many people believe, though, that this is something only the United States can do. Many people are wondering whether the price of isolating now these governments such as Syria has been perhaps too high, and many people are hoping that Condoleezza Rice or a high-level U.S. official will come here and exert maximum U.S. diplomacy and pressure, Wolf.
Christiane, you've been in Haifa now for a couple of days. I know you've had a chance to go around the city. It's a city of about 300,000 population. Normally it would be bustling right now. What's life like in Haifa on this day 6 of this war?
Well, much more subdued, as you can imagine. Just yesterday, there was a rocket attack that hit a train depot downtown, not far from where we are, and killed 8 people. And so this has obviously had a massive impact on this city. You know, these rockets coming down here as far as Haifa, this is as far south as they've ever got. So this is a new phenomenon for the Israeli people. The streets are much more deserted than they would be. Many of the shops and businesses and restaurants that would normally be crowded at this time of the year are not. Many of them are shuttered. But what we're seeing, and certainly what's being reported and evidence that we're hearing from people around here, that in these parts of Israel that are being attacked, there is no call for their government to stop doing what it's doing. In fact, quite the opposite.
Christiane Amanpour, stand by. We're going to be coming back to you. Christiane is in Haifa. Let's go to the east a little bit. CNN's John Voss is also in northern Israel. His location only coming under fire within the past hour or two. He's had to move to a safer location. We hope it's a safer location. John is joining us on the phone. Tell us what you can, John.
Well, we were with an artillery outfit not far from the Lebanese border when the Katyusha started coming in. 4 landed fairly close to our location. We can't be entirely sure just how close, but it was too close. It was at that moment when the Israeli artillery seemed to be returning fire almost constantly for the last hour. We understand from the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, that part of that attack that we saw was in fact a volley of Katyusha rockets on 16 Israeli communities up and down the border with Lebanon. As Christiane mentioned, there have been 5 casualties reported, or 5 injuries on the Israeli side. A house was hit as well. This is all part of the Hezbollah strategy to continue to fire these Katyusha rockets, despite Israel trying to create that buffer zone. We've seen it over the last couple of days with Israeli artillery firing constantly into southern Lebanon. A short time ago, we heard more Israeli fighter jets overhead. They were heading into Lebanon, which would be indicative of yet more airstrikes to be carried out, quite possibly within the south. Israeli television was reporting earlier tonight that a Hezbollah commander in the south was wounded either in an airstrike or by artillery. There's also been a fairly high cost in civilian terms and civilian lives. Homes and buildings have also been destroyed in southern Lebanon by this action by the Israeli military, but the government here is determined to push on, determined to ensure that Hezbollah receives fairly close to a knockout blow, Wolf.
And it's just after midnight in northern Israel right now. John, I'm going to have you stand by as well, but I want to go to Beirut right now. Israeli bombs have been falling in the Lebanese capital, around Lebanon as well. Our senior international correspondent, Nick Robertson, is on the scene for us. Nick, what's it like? What's it like right now, and what has happened today?
Well, Wolf, it's very, very quiet here in Beirut at the moment. There was an explosion a little earlier, and there were explosions at the beginning of the day. A lot of the fire seems to be going on in the south, along that border area from where Hezbollah is firing missiles into Israel. In the east, in the Bekaa Valley, we're seeing attacks as well in the port cities of Sidon and Tyre, further south from Beirut. The city here does seem to have been spared some of the worst of the shelling, but in the port today, an evacuation was beginning. The French government brought a ship in today to evacuate about 1,200 French nationals who've been waiting to get out of Lebanon. There are about another 5,000 French nationals waiting to get out. As I'm talking to you here, a few vans are driving through the city centre, moving supplies around. Supplies are a concern for people living here. Will they have enough fresh food, water and such like fuel as the situation gets worse, as it's harder to move goods around the country? But on the harbour side today, people very relieved to be getting out of Lebanon. The British government also brought in 2 helicopters today to move its evacuation programme further forward. They took out 40 people with them today, people who had medical conditions, people who had young children with them. Also, the American government and the embassy here announcing they are getting closer to evacuating potentially up to 25,000 Americans here in Lebanon. They say their plans are advanced, and they hope to be able to announce very soon the collection points for where people can get out. It looks very much as if the main route out for people now is through the ports, and perhaps the ports of Beirut and further north from here, Wolf.
When the Lebanese say they want a ceasefire right now, how would they implement that in terms of Hezbollah being in the south? Can the Lebanese government effectively control those Hezbollah fighters?
Well, Wolf, I talked with Walid Jumblat earlier today. He is the Druze leader, the leader of a sect here. He was a warlord during the civil war here, is a parliamentarian now. And I said, look, the issue here to get this ceasefire is all about the Lebanese turning over, Hezbollah in particular, turning over these 2 Israeli soldiers they abducted. How are you, the government, going to get Hezbollah to do it? He said simply, we can't do it. We can't do it. He says Hezbollah is gaining at the moment. Hassan Nasrallah, the leader, is gaining. Well, I'm talking to you, Wolf. I can hear aircraft flying overhead here. But he said that Hezbollah is gaining strength in its constituency the more it's being attacked. And it makes it very difficult for the government to bring any pressure to bear on them to make them sign up to this ceasefire. He looks to Syria and to Iran as being behind Hezbollah. And he says that's where the pressure's got to come from, Wolf, on Hezbollah to make them hand over those 2 soldiers. Wolf?
Are you hearing any explosions as those aircraft fly over you, Nick?
Wolf, not yet. We're hearing them flying quite low. They're not normally quite this low, but no explosions at the moment, and no indication what this is. But quite often when they come over, we do hear explosions not long afterwards.
Nick Robertson, we're going to stand by and come back to you if there are developments in Beirut, as I suspect there might be. Nick is on the scene for us. Be careful over there. Meanwhile, the Pentagon is making final preparations for a mass evacuation. Some of the estimated 25,000 U.S. citizens in Lebanon. Our senior Pentagon correspondent, Jamie McIntyre, is joining us now with more. Jamie?
Well, Wolf, with the Italian government getting several hundred of its nationals out and the French government getting over 1,000 of theirs out on the ship, some Americans stranded in Lebanon are expressing frustration with the slow pace of the U.S. evacuations. A U.S. Marine Corps CH-53 helicopter brought the first evacuated Americans to a British Royal Air Base in southeast Cyprus. The first to be airlifted out, 21 Sunday and 43 Monday, were U.S. citizens with dependents with special needs, along with some embassy staff. But the trickle of Americans is expected to become a flood in the coming days, as thousands who are stranded in the war zone are just waiting for word they have arrived.
I'm waiting for the United States they haven't been very communicative with people here. We feel very abandoned, quite frankly, and I'm just waiting for them to come up with something.
Pentagon sources say 3 more helicopters from the 24th Marine Expeditionary Unit operating in the Red Sea will be moved to Cyprus Tuesday, bringing to a half dozen the number operating in the air bridge. But for most Americans, the way out is by sea. The State Department has chartered an aging Greek cruise ship, the Orient Queen, which usually carries 750 passengers, but could take twice as many on a short 5-hour trip between the port of Beirut and Larnaca, Cyprus.
We're building up the assets in the region so that we can operate on a scale of moving thousands of people.
Pentagon sources say several U.S. amphibious assault ships are on standby in the Red Sea if they are needed to increase the capacity. They include the USS Trenton, the USS Nashville, and the USS Whidbey Island. In addition, the U.S. Navy destroyer Gonzales is being dispatched to Lebanon to provide security for the sea evacuation. The U.S. government estimates there are some 25,000 Americans in Lebanon, and 15,000 of those have registered on the State Department's website, including 3,000 just since the crisis began. So how many actually want to leave Lebanon? No one seems to know for sure. The best guess estimate right now of the government is that it will be upwards of 5,000. Wolf?
Jamie, thanks for that. Jamie McIntyre. The State Department, by the way, is urging Americans in Lebanon to register with the U.S. Embassy in Beirut if they haven't already done so. From overseas, there's a number you can call here in Washington, 202-501-4444. From inside the United States or Canada, you can call toll-free 1-888-407-4747. Let's go to Jack Cafferty in New York. Jack?
Wolf, Iran says a ceasefire is possible in the Middle East. That's right, Iran. The country's foreign minister says a ceasefire and prisoner exchange would be a fair deal in resolving the current conflict in the Middle East. He said this after he met with Syria's vice president. Real Boy Scouts, those two. Meanwhile, Israel says some of the weapons being fired by Hezbollah are made in Iran. Although Iran funded and supplied Hezbollah in the 1980s, it denies providing them with weapons in this latest round of fighting. And of course, the world knows that Iran always tells the truth about these things. Some experts say Iran is just trying to divert attention from its nuclear program, which they seem to have done. They also believe that Hezbollah could not have acted without a go-ahead from Tehran. So here's the question this hour. What is Iran's role in the growing conflict in the Middle East? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile@CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile.
Jack, thank you for that. Just ahead here in the Situation Room, he's the head of a powerful militia, and he's now a potent political force in Lebanon, the Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. We're going to show you what you need to know about this key player in the current fighting. Also, we're going to hear from diplomats on both sides. Ambassador Nuhad Mahmoud, he's a representative of Lebanon's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He's standing by in New York to join us live. He's been attending the UN. Also, Daniel Ayalon, Israel's ambassador to the United States. We're covering all sides of this story. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
We're back with the Geico Gecko. So now here's the thing I don't understand. People could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance by switching to Geico.
Right.
So I have to ask, why does Geico even need a talking gecko?
Well, entertainment.
How's that?
Look, you can't just tell people that Geico could save them money. It's true, yes, but it's a bit boring. So you have a little gecko entertain, play a little guitar or whatever. They think they're watching entertaining television, but they're actually watching a commercial.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Hi.
I'm Peter Lyman, by the way.
Jade Spence.
He's sexy.
I'm giving a party at the estate. I'd love you to come.
He's wealthy.
Oh, wow.
I can't let you go. You're too beautiful. But is he playing with a full deck?
Peter Lyman is the tarot card serial killer. It's just coincidence. I don't buy it. He's a dangerous man. What? What do you mean you're Metamucil?
From the director of Matchpoint. Scoop.
The man is a liar and a murderer. And I say that with all due respect.
Rated PG-13. In select theaters July 28th.
Interest rates keep climbing, and so are your monthly payments. Refinance your adjustable rate mortgage with LendingTree and save as much as $250 a month. Call 1-800-555-TREE now to lower your monthly payments. When banks compete, you win. Rates are climbing higher, and so are your interest payments. Refinance your adjustable rate mortgage with LendingTree and save up to $3,000 a year. Call 1-800-555-TREE now before rates climb even higher. When banks compete, you win.
Larry King tonight, former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, and more. Can the U.S. pull the Mideast back from the brink of war? Tonight, 9 Eastern, only on CNN.
As a kid, I used technology to help people do better. Today, Scottrade does the same for online investors. If you've been thinking about moving your account, this is the perfect time to come to Scottrade. With powerful trading tools and fast, accurate $7 trades, Scottrade gives you more for your money.
The internet is an exciting tool. Unfortunately, it can expose your personal information to scammers and spammers. But as a Comcast high-speed internet customer, you can download free security products at Comcast.net. Like a monkey with a sledgehammer, McAfee security products like antivirus, parental controls, and firewall protection make your internet experience more secure. This has been a Comcast courtesy message.
Don't wait an hour for morning news. 6 a.m. CNN American Morning tomorrow.
Time now for an update on the crisis in the Middle East. In a private conversation caught on an open microphone, President Bush disclosed that Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice will go to the Middle East to help ease the tensions. No word on when she will leave Washington for the region. The UN Secretary General Kofi Annan and the British Prime Minister Tony Blair are calling for an international force to be sent to the Israeli-Lebanese border. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister of France is calling for a ceasefire. Prime Minister Dominique de Villepin says Lebanon, quote, should be able to spread its sovereignty over all its territory. And we have new tolls on the number of dead. Lebanon says 170 people have been killed in the conflict so far. 429 have been wounded. Israel says it's lost 24 people and more than 300 have been injured. Joining us now to talk more about this deepening crisis is Daniel Ayalon, Israel's ambassador to the United States. Mr. Ambassador, thanks for coming in. Why not accept an immediate ceasefire to stop the killing?
Oh, we would accept it gladly. But for a ceasefire, a real ceasefire, we need to get our soldiers back home. There are 2 kidnapped soldiers that were kidnapped across our international borders. And if we get them back, I guess ceasefire negotiations could indeed be on the table.
If the 2 soldiers were returned, would Israel immediately agree to a ceasefire?
I think we can certainly discuss it. We will view it as a very positive development, and then we can talk with we would like very much to talk with either the Lebanese government or any responsible power there. But yes, we need to get our soldiers there. Also, in the aftermath, of course, we'll have to make sure that 1559 UN Security Council resolutions is fully implemented.
But let me just get it straight. As long as those 2 Israeli soldiers are held captive by Hezbollah, there will be no ceasefire.
Right.
That's an absolutely bottom line Israeli position.
Well, I think it's also by definition the hostilities, the continuation of hostilities. As long as these 2 soldiers are in the hands of the Hezbollah, that means an ongoing continuation of hostility. That doesn't mean a ceasefire.
What if they come back and say you can have the 2 soldiers, but give some Lebanese prisoners or Palestinian prisoners that Israel holds, give them up in the process?
Well, that is totally unacceptable, and this will actually motivate the Hezbollah to continuing with this kidnapping, and the whole area is going to go down south with a slippery slope that we have been seeing. On the contrary, they have to give it unconditionally. There is no comparison between the 2 kidnapped soldiers and the convicted murderers, the Lebanese convicted murderers, terrorists that have been undergoing trials and found guilty.
Is there an Israeli position, a flat Israeli position, on the introduction of an international peacekeeping force coming into the region?
I think it's way too premature to speak about any international peacekeeping. There is no peace, so there is no peacekeeping to guard.
But if there were a ceasefire, would you support an international force, a United Nations-based force coming into the region?
I would say that the most important thing is to strengthen the hand of the Lebanese army. This is the most important. To the extent that an international force can help that and help the Lebanese government and the Lebanese people, we would consider that favorably.
But you understand that if the Lebanese army were to go into southern Lebanon and take over, Hezbollah would presumably resist that, and then there would be another civil war in Lebanon.
Well, I hope not, and this is exactly what we're doing now. I hope that at the aftermath of this operation, the Hezbollah will be totally neutralized as a military power. And we've seen them now building an enormous military capabilities with the help of Iran and Syria, who have been denying it all along. But now we see that all the shells we received, the rockets, the guided missiles, all these very sophisticated and dangerous deadly weapons are all Iranian and Syrian manufactured.
There have been some analysts who have suggested that Israel had this plan in the works now for some time, waiting for an opportunity to implement it. The kidnapping of these Israeli soldiers, the killing of some other Israeli soldiers, has given Israel this opportunity to try to destroy or degrade Hezbollah in a significant way, that you're exploiting this situation. What do you say to those analysts who insist that's what your strategy is?
Well, this is totally wrong, and not at all, Wolf. Actually, we have been very restrained for the past 6 years. If you remember, May 2000, Israel completely evacuated, pulled out of Lebanon till the very last inch. The UN came and demarcated the line, which is what is called the blue line, which is the international border, recognized universally between Lebanon and Israel.
Except for the Sheba Farms area, which is a disputed area. The Lebanese keep saying that this is Lebanon and Israel. It's a tiny little area. Why doesn't Israel just withdraw from that area?
It's a pretext. Actually, this is not Lebanese territory. It is Syrian territory.
Well, the Syrian ambassador the other day here said they recognize it as Lebanon.
Well, let's see it as he cedes this area to Lebanon. Syria doesn't even recognize Lebanon as a free country.
If Syria were to say it's Lebanon, the Sheba Farms, would Israel pull out?
Well, that would be a very manipulative move to do it in retrospect. But if this is the case, we may consider. But I would like to see first the Syrians give this area to Lebanon. You have all the UN maps, which show pre-67 and after 67, shows Sheba Farm as Syrian territory. This was, and by the way, Sheba Farm was never an issue between us and Lebanon until May 2000 when we pulled out. So this is an excuse for them to continue what is called the resistance or the terror by the Hezbollah.
We have to go, but a quick question. Do you want Condoleezza Rice to come to the region right now?
Well, Condoleezza is a great friend, a great leader, and she would be welcome anytime. But it's not the issue of coming, it's the issue of timing. Right now, I think the timing is wrong, and I think she thinks the timing is wrong. And I believe at the first opportunity that she can come and make an effect, a positive effect, in the region, I'm sure she will come and be very well received.
So you think her trip is at least a week away?
I don't want to term it in time or moments, but certainly right now it's not the time. We have to see that there is a situation whereby the conditions are conducive for her trip, and I'm afraid right now this is not the case.
Daniel Ayalon is Israel's ambassador to the United States. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for coming in.
Thank you.
And coming up here in the Situation Room, we're going to get the other side of the story. That would be Lebanon's side of the story. Lebanese Ambassador Nuhad Mahmoud, he's a representative of Lebanon's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He's been dispatched to the United Nations. He's standing by to join us live as well, right here in the Situation Room. Plus, U.S. reaction to the growing crisis. The Undersecretary of State, Nicholas Burns, he's just back with Condoleezza Rice from the G8 summit in Russia. He's standing by to join us live as well. Stay with us.
My name is Andrea Heisler, and this is my story. I facilitate communication between two people who can't normally communicate. I started having joint pain in my wrist. I would avoid certain signs, like last night would hurt my wrist. I took some Aleve. I could actually move my wrist. The one cool thing about my job is everyone's always happy to see me. Aleve worked great.
Pure Dell. It's an uncomplicated approach to creating more loyal customers. With enterprise database solutions, you can scale as you grow, and they all run on new Dell PowerEdge servers, featuring the reliability of dual-core Intel Xeon processors, which makes everything easy to manage. So you spend less time minding your servers and more time minding the store. That's the direct path to success. That's pure Dell.
Do you have an adjustable rate mortgage? How much has your monthly payment gone up? Do you have credit card debt? Get a new low fixed rate home loan with one low monthly payment, even if you have a credit problem. Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
If you feel like your brokerage has abandoned you right in the middle of the battle, don't worry. Reinforcements have arrived. Now you can get a top-of-the-line trading platform and still pay only $6.99 to $9.99 per trade. Be locked and loaded.
Between my two phone bills, it's probably about $60 a month.
About $150.
Probably $100 a month.
With Vonage, you get unlimited calls to anywhere in the U.S. and Canada, and all the cool features you could ever want are included. And it's just $24.99 a month.
Call 1-800-399-5210. Go online or visit these fine retailers.
Vonage, leading the internet phone revolution.
Welcome back to the Situation Room. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. The Lebanese government maintains it does not condone the actions of Hezbollah, yet Hezbollah's leader says his group is defending Lebanon, fighting for the Lebanese people. So who exactly is in charge of Hezbollah? Our Brian Todd has been investigating. He's joining us now from the newsroom. Brian?
Wolf, this man is by most accounts one of those classic contradictions in the Middle East, a man considered influential, politically savvy, and very dangerous.
His whereabouts are a tight secret, but he's the most public Arab voice against Israel in this fight.
We will continue, we will be able to deal defeat to the enemy.
He's led one of the region's most notorious militant groups into the mainstream of Lebanese politics, but has also led his forces into deadly confrontations with Israel. Two of the many contradictions of 46-year-old Hassan Nasrallah, the defiant leader of Hezbollah.
Hassan Nasrallah is a man who combines the kind of charismatic Islamic populist ideology of Ayatollah Khomeini, Iran's revolutionary leader, with the wily guerrilla tactics of Che Guevara.
Born in Beirut, trained as a Shiite cleric in Iraq and Iran, Nasrallah joined Hezbollah when it was established in 1982, became its leader 10 years later when his predecessor was assassinated by Israeli forces, and suffered his own personal loss in the late 1990s.
He lost a son fighting Israeli troops when they were occupying South Lebanon. He still has a great deal of stature.
Stature in Lebanon and beyond, according to analysts. They say for dispossessed Muslims, Nasrallah has emerged as a more pragmatic counterbalance to Osama bin Laden, who Nasrallah has condemned as despicable.
Osama bin Laden comes across as ascetic, removed. He talks in sort of cryptic sentences. Hassan Nasrallah doesn't talk in cryptic sentences. He raises his fist and he tells you about how the world needs to be.
But the two have common enemies. At the same time Nasrallah was leading Hezbollah's rise in the Lebanese parliament, intelligence analysts say he helped shelter Imad Mughniya, the alleged mastermind of the 1983 bombing of the Marine barracks in Beirut.
Could this be the end of the line for Hassan Nasrallah? Some analysts believe he miscalculated this time, not figuring Hezbollah's kidnapping of 2 Israeli soldiers would escalate to this point. They say Nasrallah's fate may depend on how long Israel wants to keep up this fight. Wolf?
Brian Todd reporting for us. Thanks very much. And joining us now is Ambassador Nuhad Mahmoud. He's a representative of Lebanon's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Ambassador, thanks very much for coming in. We just heard the Israeli ambassador to the United States say that if those 2 Israeli soldiers are returned to Israel right now, Israel would then consider an immediate ceasefire. Is that doable to get those 2 Israeli soldiers back to Israel?
This thing can be done, I think, when the ceasefire will stop. We are asking for just immediate and comprehensive ceasefire.
So you're saying that there has to be a ceasefire first, and then the Israeli soldiers can be returned. Why not return the Israeli soldiers first and end this warfare?
Well, as always, it's a game of power, and I think that's what we witness now. And that's why I don't think that happened in the past, and I don't see it happening now.
Does the Lebanese government, which you represent, have the power to convince Hezbollah, which is actually a member of your government, to give up those soldiers?
By convincing we can, but not by force.
So what do you see happening in the short term? The fighting is presumably going to continue as long as those soldiers are held.
Well, the fighting will continue, but the soldier cannot be returned under these conditions. I mean, it's not in our hand now, but it will be better conditions if we give diplomacy a chance.
The Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice, says she's ready to go to the region to try to help. The Israeli ambassador says now is not the right time. It needs a little time to percolate, if you will. What do you want her to do?
First, we want to prepare the ground for her to have a successful mission. I don't think now the conditions are ripe for that. But we want complete ceasefire. That's what we want, because my country is it's under destruction and under killing machine, and we don't know how things can be done in these circumstances.
Here's what the Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert told his parliament earlier today. The stability and tranquility of a free Lebanon is something that Israel wishes for. The battle that we're currently waging is against terrorists who are simply the subcontractors of regimes that support terrorism and oppose peace on the axis of evil that stretches from Tehran to Damascus. The allegation the Israelis make and some U.S. officials make is that Syria and Iran are really calling the shots right now, telling Hezbollah what to do. Is that accurate?
I don't think that's completely accurate. Hezbollah are part of the Lebanese society, and the Lebanese people, unfortunately, they are not feeling the kindness of Israel. They are feeling the hostility of Israel against all of them, against their infrastructure. And we used to hear from the Israeli government officials such a statement, but we see that Lebanon is the one who is under attack, not Hezbollah. The loss of Hezbollah are very limited till now. So till now, they will till when they will continue their action.
The British Prime Minister Tony Blair and Kofi Annan, the UN Secretary General, are talking about a new United Nations security force, if you will, going into the region to try to ease this crisis. What's Lebanon's position on that possibility?
Yes, any international contribution can ease the crisis, but not enforce settlement, because the settlement can be reached politically.
There's been some division clearly in the Arab world reacting to what's going on in Lebanon. Prince Saud al-Faisal, the foreign minister of Saudi Arabia, said this. He said, these acts, referring to Hezbollah's attacks on Israel, will pull the whole region back to years ago, and we cannot simply accept them. I guess the Saudis, the Egyptians, the Jordanians, other more moderate Arab states want Hezbollah to give up these Israeli soldiers, and they're saying that Hezbollah had no business crossing the international border and taking these Israeli soldiers. What's your reaction to that?
Well, even the Lebanese government did declare from the first day that it doesn't condone, it doesn't approve, it doesn't adopt such action. But now we are far beyond this action and reaction. We are witnessing the destruction of Lebanon.
One final question, Mr. Ambassador, before I let you go. Last week, the Lebanese ambassador here in Washington supposedly was recalled because of comments he made on CNN that seemed to support Hezbollah. You represent the foreign ministry. What is his status, the Lebanese ambassador to the United States?
As I know, as he is still the acting ambassador.
So he has not been recalled?
I didn't hear about it.
Mr. Ambassador, thanks very much for coming in. Hopefully we'll speak with you again in the coming days. Are your intentions to stay in New York?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, good. We'll speak to you in the next few days as well. Nouhad Mahmoud is Lebanon's special envoy, special representative from the foreign ministry. He's at the United Nations right now. And coming up, we'll have more on the deepening crisis in the Middle East. A candid conversation caught on tape. It involves the President of the United States, the Prime Minister of Britain. We'll let you listen in as they express their frustration about the crisis in the Middle East. And Israel says its aircraft hit a truck in Beirut that had missiles capable of reaching Tel Aviv. Tom Foreman standing by with more on Hezbollah's missile capabilities. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
There are more than 29 million Americans without insurance who need help paying for their medicines. That's why there's the Partnership for Prescription Assistance. Through this free service, people who need help can call 1-888-4PPA now to see if they may qualify. Many get their medicines for free or nearly free, and I'm talking more than 2,500 brand name and generic medicines. Do you need help? Write down the number you see. It's your medicine. It's your life. It's your time to call.
Your risks are always evolving. Shouldn't your insurance stay in sync? Travelers.
Why do I like working here? I'm part of something big. I'm part of the future. I bring people together and send smiles, literally. Michael's my son. We have a good time together. Michael thinks my job is pretty cool. But what I like the most is that Verizon Wireless works as hard for me as I do for our customers. Through our tuition reimbursement program, I earn my certification. As I grow, the company grows. I am Diane Mundy, Verizon Wireless Project Engineer. It's very exciting to be part of something like this.
We're watching the story in the Middle East unfold. The crisis in the Middle East continues. We're going to go right back to the region, but I want to check some other important stories making news right now. Betty Nguyen joining us from the CNN Center. Betty?
Well, from sea to steaming sea, a heat wave is gripping much of the U.S. Volunteers are going door to door to check on elderly residents and hand out bottled water. Temperatures are well into the 90s all across the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states, but the humidity makes it feel even hotter. Heat warnings and advisories are in effect in many areas. And coastal authorities in India are keeping watch after a powerful earthquake and tsunami struck the Indonesian island of Java. Red Cross officials say at least 80 people were killed when the 6-foot wave struck popular beach resorts on Java's south coast earlier today. Many people are still missing at this hour. The tsunami came hours after the magnitude 7.7 earthquake deep in the Indian Ocean. And a terrifying scene in Iraq today. Take a look. Iraq's Defense Ministry says at least 40 people were killed when 2 car bombs exploded in a marketplace in Mahmudiyah. Officials say gunmen then opened fire and threw grenades into the crowd, killing women and children. They say 3 of the attackers have been arrested. Separately, though, 3 U.S. soldiers were also killed in Iraq. Wolf.
Betty, thank you very much. Betty Nguyen reporting. Lou Dobbs getting ready for his program that begins, as you all know, right at the top of the hour. He's standing by to tell us what he's working on. I can only imagine, Lee.
Well, thank you very much. Coming up, we'll have complete coverage of the escalating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah, as well as the involvement of Syria and Iran. Iran tonight appears to be working covertly to fulfill the Iranian president's threat to wipe Israel off the face of the map. We'll have a special report on Iran's support of Hezbollah and other radical Islamist terrorists around the world. The United States has finally begun to evacuate our citizens from Lebanon days after other countries began their rescue operations. We'll have that report. And the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton, joins me to discuss diplomatic efforts to end this conflict. And I'll be joined by 3 of the country's foremost authorities on the Middle East, with both the Israeli and the Arab view. And our special guest tonight, former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, on U.S. geopolitical strategy. We hope you'll be with us. All of that at the top of the hour. Wolf.
Lou, sounds like an excellent hour as usual. Thanks very much for that. And still to come here in the Situation Room, is there any hope diplomacy can cool this crisis in the Middle East? Standing by, a top State Department official who's just back from the G8 summit with Condoleezza Rice, Nick Burns. We'll speak with him live. And remember that other flashpoint of North Korea? Our own Zain Verji is there at the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. Zain will report from the region. That's all coming up.
What happens if your latest product goes global in a single bound? Because we consider what might change tomorrow, our customers can feel more relaxed about what might happen today. Zurich, because change happens.
We refinanced our first mortgage and consolidated our loans, and we were able to lower our monthly payment by $800, and it was very quick.
Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED. Closed captioning provided by Head On. Head On applied directly to the forehead.
Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On is available without a prescription at retailers nationwide.
We're going to go back to the region. Much more coming up on the crisis in the Middle East in just a moment. But there are also some important developments in the continuing standoff right now with North Korea. The U.S. Navy says it has enough capability in the Asia-Pacific region to deal with any nuclear threat from North Korea. Today, the Navy said it intends to increase its military presence in the Pacific. But the Navy says the decision is not necessarily based on North Korea's recent missile tests. Meanwhile, our Zane Verjee is at the demilitarized zone separating North from South Korea with a unique look at the tensions between both of these countries. Zane is joining us now live via broadband. Zane?
Wolf, hello. I want to show you something very, very rare. We've got a fantastic opportunity. You are looking right into North Korea. The sun is rising now. And yesterday, during the day, we had a chance to take a closer look.
Glares, scowls, and sneers. The most loyal of North Korea's troops serve here, on guard at the demilitarized zone that splits north from south. Back to back with U.S. and South Korean soldiers, separated only by a 16-inch concrete line. If you cross it, the consequences could be deadly.
That's North Korea, and we're looking at North Korean soldiers on the other side, marching away from us, marching away from the military demarcation line. They're so close we could see the expressions on their faces, stern.
At the DMZ, it's all about being macho. South Korean soldiers, 6 feet tall, wearing shades, march out to position themselves opposite their enemies, filling the cuffs of their pants with ball bearings to sound more intimidating. Cameras perched on North Korean guard towers track our every move. The UN command cameras on the South Korean side eyes the other side too. A North Korean soldier trains his binoculars on us, while another peeps through a window, then abruptly withdraws.
This is the North Korean People's Army building. You can identify it by the silver structure. The blue ones over there are actually representative of the UN building. But as we've been standing here, the North Koreans are actually going behind the curtains and every so often lifting them up and taking a look at us. And it's actually quite humorous. We're standing out here filming them, and they're outside.
They're looking right now.
They're looking right now.
Take a look.
And the North Korean soldiers aren't the only ones watching. A Chinese group visits on the other side, filming us as we film them. While the hard stares and tough guy poses were apparent, what's also striking is a parallel atmosphere of casualness. North and South Korea are still officially at war. A peace treaty's never been signed. The troops here would be in the front line of fire if a battle were ever to break out again.
And Wolf, troops here have described the atmosphere as surreal. And you know, it really is that. You really do get a sense of strangeness and tension when you're here. I know that right behind me right now as we're doing this live shot, it's very likely that the North Koreans are looking, they're watching through their binoculars. Right next to me, I have a South Korean soldier here for my own protection. And also, Wolf, I've been made to wear a blue armband, specifically instructed to wear it on my left hand to indicate to the other side that we are not hostile, we are media. Wolf?
Excellent report, Zane. Be careful over there. We'll continue your exclusive reports throughout this week here in the Situation Room. Zane Verjee reporting. Up ahead, Israel says its aircraft hit a truck in Beirut that had missiles capable of reaching Tel Aviv. Our Tom Foreman standing by with more on Hezbollah's missile capabilities. And Jack Cafferty wants to know what you think Iran's role may be in this current warfare in the Middle East. In minutes, Jack has your email. Stay with us.
I'm sorry, Jake was next. Yeah, well, we're next now.
I washed all the dishes and I did a lot more. I even bought the dinner at the grocery store. And now, Mom, you find the key next door. This little girl's gonna rock it. I left some biscuits for the pup. I put fresh water in his cup. And now I'm off, I'm going.
Will there be justice for the wife of a high-profile California defense attorney? Was her murder part of a satanic ritual?
Nancy Grace, Headline Prime, tonight, 8.
So Heather, what do you think this is?
I don't know, John. What is it?
It's how you find PD Exposed on demand.
Oh, and how do you do that?
Well, with your Comcast digital cable remote, you click on Channel 1, click on local programs, then click on CNW14, and then...
Click on PD Exposed.
Exactly.
Yeah, but do you think these guys can figure that out?
PD Exposed is brought to you by PDX Magazine, Portland's Where to Go, What to Do guide, featuring live music, restaurants, nightlife, local sports, and latest trends. Pick up this month's issue today or download your free copy at pdxmagazine.com.
Can you tell the difference between these pet medications? They're exactly the same, but these medications cost a lot less. And they're delivered right to my door. That's the 1-800-PET-MEDS difference. Great savings, fast service, free shipping. Order now.
This summer, get the sunblock that also blocks the bite. New Bullfrog Mosquito Coast Sunblock and Repellent. Up to 8-hour protection against harmful rays and pesky bites without the odor. New Bullfrog Mosquito Coast. Block the burn and the bite.
Ever get the feeling your advertising is reaching the wrong people? Comcast Spotlight can help. With dozens of networks to choose from, you can run your message only on the shows your customers are watching. You can even target your message geographically to reach your customers where they live. Comcast Spotlight. TV advertising without the waste.
For more information, call our Portland office.
So Heather, what do you think this is?
I don't know, John. What is it?
It's how you find PD Exposed on demand.
Oh, and how do you do that?
Well, with your Comcast digital cable remote, you click on Channel 1, click on local programs, then click on CNW14, and then...
Click on PD Exposed.
Exactly.
Yeah, but do you think these guys can figure that out?
PD Exposed is brought to you by PDX Magazine, Portland's Where to Go, What to Do guide, featuring live music, restaurants, nightlife, local sports, and latest trends. Pick up this month's issue today or download your free copy at pdxmagazine.com. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright and more on the Mideast. Larry King, 9 Eastern.
This just coming in, we've just been told by the Lebanese army, which has confirmed to CNN, that one of its military bases has been hit in an area called Jumhar, northeast of Beirut. No immediate reports of casualties. We're going to continue to watch this story, get more on it as it becomes available. Apparently, a Lebanese military base has just been hit by an Israeli airstrike. There are new tolls now on the number of dead in this conflict. Lebanon says 170 people at least have been killed in Lebanon. 429 have been wounded. Israel says it's lost 24 people. More than 300 have been hurt. Also, we've learned the Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice will in fact go to the region, go to the Middle East to try to help ease the tensions. No word yet, though, on when she will leave Washington. That item among many coming from a private conversation involving President Bush, a conversation that was caught on an open microphone.
I think Connie's going to go pretty soon. Right. Well, that's all that matters. But if you see, it'll take some time to get that together. Yeah. But at least it gives people some process. I agree. At which you and I told her your offer too. Well, it's only if it's if she's got or if she needs the ground prepared, as it were. Because obviously if she goes out, she's got to succeed, as it were. Whereas I can go out and just. See, the irony is that what they need to do is get Syria to get Hezbollah to stop doing this shit, and it's over. Why? Because I think this is all part of the same thing. Yeah. Look, what does he think? He thinks if Lebanon turns out fine, if you get a solution in Israel and Palestine, Iran goes in the right way. Yeah, he's through. He's had it. And that's what this whole thing's about. It's the same with Iran. I felt like telling Kofi to call, get on the middle of the roof Assad and make something happen. Yeah. We're not blaming the Lebanese government.
And as you just saw here live in the Situation Room, both the Lebanese envoy at the United Nations as well as the Israeli ambassador to the United States both agree this is not necessarily an appropriate time for Condoleezza Rice to come to the region, at least not right now. They say it still needs some time to prepare for her trip to the region. We'll find out what's going on shortly. Let's bring in CNN's Tom Foreman right now. He's got more on a new generation of Hezbollah weapons, apparently, that potentially threaten Israel. What are you picking up, Tom?
This has been quite a surprise, really, in this whole process to learn about this. One of the mainstays of Hezbollah for many years now has been the Katyusha rocket. It's a relatively low-tech rocket. It's been around for decades. It describes a whole group of lower-level rockets that have a very limited range, 5, 10 miles, that sort of thing. That's what they've been firing across the border for a long time. That's what they're firing now. But there are indications, and the Israeli army is convinced, that there is now a new threat in the hands of Hezbollah, not only now, but also in the future. Military analysts believe over the past 5 years or so, Hezbollah has been bringing more powerful, longer-range rockets in from Iran via Syria. These rockets are less portable than Katyushas and must be launched from special equipment, normally mounted on some sort of vehicle, which makes them more easily spotted and attacked by airplanes. But look at the difference these rockets make. In this simulation, a rocket is being fired from Lebanon south into Israel. By this point in its flight, an old Katyusha would already be out of fuel and falling. But not these new rockets. Armed with warheads that can weigh several hundred pounds, military experts say they can be reasonably well targeted on the city of Haifa, about 20 miles away. And so far, it is believed about 24 have hit there. Israeli military officials say their warplanes destroyed at least one truck carrying some of these new rockets. But Hezbollah is believed to have hundreds, some capable of reaching even further into Israel in the future. It is not entirely clear if they have enough launchers to handle all of these, and obviously bringing them out exposes them to danger, so they may be very careful with that. Nonetheless, a new development that has surprised a lot of people in the world. Tom
Foreman, thanks very much for that Welcome to the Future report for us. Tom Foreman here in the Situation Room. Up next, the growing conflict in the Middle East has Jack Cafferty wondering, what is Iran's role? Jack standing by with the Cafferty File. Stay with us.
Welcome to the Future is sponsored by Johnson & Johnson. At Johnson & Johnson, we believe nursing is the essence of caring. Log on to cnn.com/future for more on the reality of what the future may hold.
At Johnson & Johnson, we understand the importance of a nurse's touch.
Checking the baby and listening to his heart and, thinking maybe you don't hear something quite right and alerting the doctor. I am one of the few people who knows what to do in that kind of situation.
A nurse's touch can touch the world.
I know I make a difference. It's my niche in life. It's where I belong.
Nurses, we need you more than ever. A message of caring from Johnson & Johnson.
Honesty, privacy, respect, and great rates. That's why people who use eLoan are spreading the word. Those are just some of the revolutionary ways we're changing the lending industry. eLoan, radically simple.
Lincoln Mercury has some of America's hottest selling new models. And to celebrate, every 2006 Mercury car, SUV, and minivan has the hottest deals of the summer during the Lincoln Mercury Celebration Clearance. Get the 32 MPG Milan, winner of the Best Midsize Car Award. Now lease Milan with 0 first month's payment, 0 down, and 0 cash due at $257 a month. Don't miss the Lincoln Mercury Celebration Clearance.
30 years in this house. So many memories, huh?
You know what? Those, good to take with you.
Yeah.
See you in a couple of hours. Thank you.
Hello, you two. I'm Nancy. Let me tell you the story of this amazing house.
Century 21.
1, 2, 3, move those feet, jump and twirl, stay in beat. That a girl, 1, 2, 3. We are fish, watch us dance like we were trained in France. Okay, here's the big finish. Ta-da!
Keep your child focused by holding off hunger with the help of Kellogg's Vanilla Cream Frosted Mini Wheats. With 8 filling layers of crunchy whole grain fiber and rich vanilla taste.
8 layers. Voila.
It stays with you.
Let's go right to Beirut. Nick Robertson's on the scene with more on this latest Israeli airstrike. What are you picking up, Nick?
Wolf, at the beginning of the last hour, we told you we could hear Israeli planes flying overhead. The Lebanese army tells us that one of their barracks 12 miles from where we're standing has been hit. They say they have casualties. They won't specify exactly how many casualties they have. Also, airstrikes continuing in the southern neighborhoods of Beirut, the Hezbollah's heartland. We know that's where a lot of the Hezbollah leadership live. That's where the bombing is going on this evening right now, Wolf.
Much more coming up in our 7 p.m. Eastern hour. Nick, thanks very much. Let's check in with Jack Cafferty in New York. Jack?
This hour's question, Wolf, is what is Iran's role in the growing conflict in the Middle East? We got a lot of email. Jameson in Greenville, North Carolina writes, Iran wants nothing more than chaos throughout the Middle East as long as the chaos is not in Tehran. Henry writes in Michigan, Iran is to Hezbollah as the U.S. is to Israel. Ed in Los Angeles, Iran's desire is simply to commandeer the globalization of Islam. Barb in Oregon writes, Jock, Iran is the tail that's wagging the dog of Middle East politics. Good thing we invaded Iraq. Jim in Maui writes, Iran is the source of the current Middle East conflict, as well as being the #1 terrorist state in the region. There's no long-term solution to this conflict without destroying Iran's nuclear and military infrastructure, setting them back at least 20 years. The United States could accomplish this without putting a single boot on the ground. This from Jonathan in Loudonville, New York. Seems to me it's time for President Bush to sign an executive order rescinding the self-imposed ban on assassination as a tool of statecraft. There are several people running countries and/or terrorist organizations that the world could well do without. If you didn't see your email here, we invite you to go to cnn.com/Cafferty file, where we put up more of these online. And at 7 o'clock, we're going to take a look at this whole idea of democracy in the Middle East. It ain't working in Iraq, and it ain't working in Lebanon, and it ain't working in Palestine, and it ain't working in Iran, and there's just a real question mark, Wolf, as to whether or not this is a form of government that's adaptable to that part of the world.
We'll watch together with you. Thanks very much, Jack. That's all coming up an hour from now when we're back in the Situation Room. Remember, we're here 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern, back for an hour from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Much more coming up. In the meantime, let's go to Lou Dobbs in New York. Lou?
Thank you, Wolf.